Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Nvidia Titan X, priced at $999 US, a hair under $1,000. You're looking at the most expensive single GPU card solution, but also the most powerful ever made. Of course, this is based around Maxwell, the same architecture that drives Nvidia's GTX 980, which I've covered in the past. Easily one of the best graphics cards, especially when it comes to power efficiency, and the X doesn't disappoint in that arena either. Before I get this thing out of the box, let's go over some specifications. With regard to CUDA cores, 3072 as opposed to the 2880 in the Titan Black that it replaces. You've now got 12 gigs of VRAM as opposed to the 6 that the Titan Black had. In terms of core clock speed, we're moving up to 1000 with a boost of 1075 as opposed to the 889 and 980 that the Black had to offer. 348-bit when it comes to the memory bus width, so that's exactly the same as the Titan Black, as is the actual clock speed on the memory and the memory type. But remember, you have twice the amount of VRAM, which is huge. I'll get into that a little bit later. Beyond that, the same power draw, 250 watts, just like the Titan Black before it, but with so much more performance, and that is where this card is a stunner. Not quite as much, I would say, as the 980, but still unlike anything we've seen before in a single card solution. So with that said, let me go ahead and crack this thing open. I'll basically also just give you a quick look at the box here. You can see highlights from Nvidia regarding basically everything that this card can do. This is really the first 4K single card, I should say card, that will be able to game at 4K ever made, and that's what makes it so impressive. Also, video rendering, it's going to do a great job. It's not a workstation card, don't be confused because of the 12 gigs of RAM. Also, you may have noticed the G-Sync branding, even the Shield branding over there, and of course they're letting you know that you need at least a 600 watt power supply. After all, this is a 250 watt draw. Let me get this thing out of the box. So who is this right for? Well, as I mentioned before, it is a $1,000 card, which does not make it a mainstream product. No question about it. It is a luxury graphics card if there ever was one, much like the Titan Black before it. But when it comes to what you're getting, as I mentioned before, this is legitimately the first single card solution that's going to be able to handle 4K. And then if you also have something like the Oculus, that's where you want this sort of performance, no question about it. So I'm going to go ahead and see if, was that not all of the tape? There's more tape and I'm not aware. No, that is all of it. And, essentially right now, the only channel you can get this from, as I try to squeak it out of here without making this thing fly apart, because after all, this is a $1,000 GPU. I don't want to destroy it on day one. Trying different angles here to get wiggle room. You are getting, again, at 250 watts, performance that you could never find with any other GPU. And here we go, finally. And now I see why I was having problems. The card is in here in an orientation that wasn't ideal for pulling it apart sideways. But you can see nice packaging. This is a reference design inspired by gamers, built by Nvidia. I'm not going to argue with that. I've been an Nvidia fan for a long time. And here is the Titan X. Now it is black, something you will notice right out of the gate. The reference cards from Nvidia have been in solidarity silver all the way, but we do now have a black card with the X. And that may be because it's replacing the Titan Black in many ways. Some software with the latest drivers, and I think I got these yesterday. They were pushed to me online, so go ahead and put this aside. I was trying to stuff that in the wrong place. But let's take a look at the card. Again, it looks just like the 980. Of course, the draw significantly higher, as I mentioned before, 250 versus the 980, which is 165 watt draw. So that really makes the 980 a masterpiece when you talk about performance to wattage ratio. But if you're after a luxury card, something that, again, is going to be able to do everything pretty much, and when I say everything, we're talking about gaming, I would say, you're not going to get 50 frames per second in latest gen titles, but I also question how optimized the latest titles rather, are for 4K gaming. And I think that's going to change now that something like this exists. Before this card existed, developers did not have a piece of hardware they could actually optimize 4K gaming for in the way that at least I believe they now can. I mean, 12 gigs of VRAM, Maxwell at its finest, and none of the problems that you would traditionally go through, or I'll say the frustrations that an SLI configuration could bring. And boy, do I know firsthand. In terms of the actual outputs, you can see that we've got basically the same thing as the 980. You've got a DVI port, but then the rest of the ports pretty much are display ports, except for a single HDMI 2.0 port. And this is critical because that means 4K at 60p. And that's one of the reasons the Titan Z did not end up working out for me. Even though it was capable of 4K gaming, it really, at the end of the day, was far from a legitimate 4K gaming option like this is right here. So you've got 3 display ports, that single HDMI 2.0, which again is important if you care about 4K, and then, of course, good old DVI to keep the standard right where it's been at. In terms of what kind of bugs this card will have out of the gate, I'm not sure. I'm not too concerned. From what I've seen performance-wise, though, it is a monster. And in terms of pin configuration, you can see right there what you're going to need. Again, 250 watts, same as the Titan Black. A single slot is all this is going to occupy, I believe. Actually, excuse me, I take that back. It looks like it is 2. And you're looking at the most powerful single card with a single GPU ever made, which is really what I was after. Even though I started off with the Titan Z, wound up with the 980, this is the first, I would say, king of 4K in a single GPU solution. So whether you're looking to drive multiple displays with 4K or deal with the Oculus, this is pretty much the best option on the market. Of course, it is expensive. Many people will complain about that. They'll say it should have been $700 or $800. Fact of the matter is that when you're a company like Nvidia that is the only one making a product that has this much power, they can set the market. They can set the price. And until AMD has an answer to this card, there's really not much to argue with on the price point. And I don't think the price shocks anyone either, because this is replacing the Titan Black clearly, and doing so in a formidable fashion. So very excited to share this with all of you. Hopefully soon I'll have a 4K monitor rather than just a 4K TV to test this on and let you know how it really games beyond just the benchmarks you've seen from basically everyone on the net. And then you'll have a real world example from me, of course, of what the Titan X is capable of and how much better it is than something like the Titan Z, which from what I've seen, it averages about 10 more frames per second in most games, but at a lot less power draw. Again, only 250, where I think the Titan Z was like 375. So that gives you an idea of how much engineering really went into this card and how far Maxwell has come, even though some may have had even loftier expectations because of the 980, again, with that performance to wattage ratio. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.